LeBron James. This is Rob Mack here, co-owner with my friend Ryan Reynolds of Wrexham AFC.
Hi,
We
LeBron.
understand. Hi. We understand you are also an owner of Liverpool.
The $55 million black hole. For years, Ryan Reynolds has been hailed as a marketing genius. From the astronomical success of Aviation Gin to the massive buyout of Mint Mobile, his Midas touch seemed infallible. However, his quiet involvement with Invictus Holdings, a silent partner in several aggressive media acquisitions, has suddenly become a massive liability. Insiders report that an internal audit triggered by the Invictus board uncovered a $55 million allocation that could not be adequately justified. The disputed funds, the capital was reportedly earmarked for a cutting-edge digital marketing infrastructure and IP acquisition sprint, spearheaded by Reynolds' creative team. The audit's findings: instead of tangible assets or secured rights, auditors allegedly found millions funneled into exploratory creative development, effectively vaporizing the funds without a single greenlit project to show for it. The breaking point: the board, composed of traditional, ruthless venture capitalists, viewed this not as a creative misstep, but as a gross misappropriation of company resources. The tension had been brewing for months, but the presentation of the final audit was the spark that ignited the powder keg, the secret board meeting and the ultimatum. On Tuesday morning, what was supposed to be a standard quarterly review morphed into a highly coordinated ambush. Reynolds, dialing in from a production set, was ambushed by a unified front of Invictus board members. According to a leaked memo from a staffer present during the call, the board didn't just ask for an explanation, they demanded his immediate resignation from his advisory and executive roles within the holding company. Their argument was brutal and straightforward: his celebrity status was no longer enough to mask the $55 million hemorrhage, and his unorthodox management style was a liability they could no longer afford. They presented him with a stark ultimatum. Step down quietly and allow the board to frame the exit as a mutual pivot to focus on his acting career. Face a public, hostile ousting that would drag his business acumen through the mud and potentially trigger an SEC inquiry into the missing funds. Reynolds loses it. Fans are used to the sarcastic, quick-witted, and self-deprecating Ryan Reynolds. The board of Invictus got something entirely different. Sources say Reynolds was initially stunned into silence before unleashing a tirade that left seasoned executives speechless. He allegedly accused the board of using him as a scapegoat for their own broader market failures, reminding them that his face and personal brand were the only reasons Invictus secured its latest round of seed funding to begin with. "You don't get to ride my coattails to a billion-dollar valuation and then throw me out of the car when you realize you don't know how to drive," Reynolds allegedly fired back during the heated exchange.
What changes have been made or need to be made here
The
going forward
confrontation reportedly escalated to the point where
which
Reynolds' legal team abruptly disconnected his feed, cutting the meeting short to prevent any further on-the-record statements. The actor is said to be furious, viewing the $55 million expenditure not as a loss, but as the necessary cost of high-level brand building, a concept he feels the suits at Invictus simply lack the vision to understand: the fallout and the threat to his empire. This controversy is threatening to pierce the bulletproof armor of Reynolds' broader empire. While his fans remain fiercely loyal, the corporate world is watching closely. If Invictus follows through on their threat of a public ousting, it could have a domino effect. Brand trust: investors in his other ventures, including his sports ownerships, may demand emergency audits to ensure similar creative expenditures aren't draining their coffers. The Wrexham factor: his highly publicized co-ownership of Wrexham AFC relies heavily on his reputation as a savvy, reliable operator. Any tarnish on his business record could complicate future sponsorships or stadium expansions. Legal warfare: Reynolds has retained one of the most aggressive corporate litigation firms in Los Angeles. If the board tries to push him out, he is fully prepared to launch a countersuit for breach of contract and defamation. The following is an entirely fictional story created for entertainment purposes. It is not based on real events or verified news involving Ryan Reynolds, the Invictus Games Foundation, or any real individuals. The sun had barely risen when members of the fictional Invictus Foundation board began arriving at headquarters. Black SUVs rolled quietly through the front gates while reporters crowded behind temporary security barriers. Camera crews had been waiting since before dawn, hoping to capture the first glimpse of the people who, according to the fictional rumors dominating headlines, were preparing to make the most controversial decision in the organization's history. Inside, the atmosphere was tense. No one smiled. Coffee cups sat untouched. Stacks of briefing folders rested neatly in front of every chair in the conference room. Each folder carried the same title: Confidential Review of the $55 million Initiative. The room remained silent until the acting chairperson entered. "Thank you for coming on such short notice," the chairperson said in this fictional account. "Today's discussion concerns the reputation of this organization and the trust placed in us by veterans, supporters, and donors around the world." Every board member nodded. Some had spent the previous night reviewing hundreds of pages of fictional financial summaries prepared by outside consultants. Others admitted privately they still had more questions than answers. The chairperson continued, "We are not here to assign blame. We are here to determine whether additional oversight is necessary while this matter is reviewed." The words echoed across the room. Although Ryan Reynolds was not present, his name dominated nearly every page of the fictional briefing documents. Outside the building, reporters speculated wildly. One television commentator claimed anonymous insiders expected a vote within hours. Another insisted no decision had yet been made. Social media users confidently repeated completely contradictory stories. Some claimed Reynolds had already resigned. Others insisted he would appear in person before the meeting ended. Neither claim had any factual basis within this fictional narrative. Across Hollywood, publicists watched the fictional controversy unfold with growing concern. Within hours, countless online creators posted dramatic videos claiming to possess exclusive information. None agreed on what had actually happened. One creator alleged that millions of dollars had disappeared. Another insisted the funds had simply been delayed. A third claimed the entire controversy resulted from accounting software errors. Every version attracted millions of views. Very few paused to ask whether any evidence supported the claims. Communications experts in this fictional story observed how quickly public opinion shifted. "The first version people hear often becomes the version they remember," one fictional crisis consultant explained during a television interview. Correcting misinformation later becomes extremely difficult. Meanwhile, supporters of Reynolds launched online campaigns urging people not to rush to judgment. Hashtags encouraging patience climbed into the trending topics worldwide. Fans shared stories about Reynolds' long history of charitable work, arguing that his reputation deserved the benefit of the doubt. Critics countered that transparency mattered more than popularity. The debate grew louder by the hour. Ryan Reynolds breaks his silence. Several miles away, Reynolds sat inside a fictional conference room at his production company. Around the table were attorneys, accountants, communication specialists, and longtime advisors. A large television displayed non-stop news coverage. Every network carried the story. Every headline seemed more dramatic than the last. One advisor muted the television. "We need a response," she said. Another shook his head. "Too soon." "If we stay silent," someone else argued, "people assume the worst." Reynolds remained unusually quiet. Known publicly for his humor and quick responses, the fictional version of Reynolds now appeared thoughtful and visibly frustrated. Finally, he spoke. "I've spent years supporting causes because I believed in them." He paused. "And now people are acting like a headline is the same thing as proof." The room fell silent. One attorney slid a folder across the table. "It contains every document connected to the fundraising initiative," she explained. "If questions exist, we'll answer them with facts, not emotion." Reynolds nodded. "No attacks," he replied. "No blaming anyone. We respond professionally." The communications team agreed. A short public statement was drafted. Instead of denying rumors individually, it simply emphasized cooperation, transparency, and respect for any review process. The fictional statement concluded, "We welcome every opportunity to clarify the facts and remain committed to supporting the mission that has inspired millions around the world." Even before the statement was released, leaked drafts somehow appeared online. Commentators immediately began dissecting every sentence. Some praised its calm tone. Others criticized it for lacking specifics. The controversy showed no signs of slowing. Back at headquarters, the fictional board examined spreadsheets projected onto a massive screen. Independent consultants explained that the alleged $55 million figure represented several separate fundraising commitments, sponsorship pledges, and long-term project estimates combined into one headline number. The distinction mattered enormously. Unfortunately, that nuance had been lost in sensational reporting. One fictional auditor addressed the room. "We have identified inconsistencies in public reporting." Several members leaned forward. But inconsistencies are not the same as evidence of wrongdoing. Relief spread across a few faces. Others remained cautious. Another board member asked the obvious question. "If there's no confirmed misconduct, why has this become such a crisis?" The answer came quickly. Because public perception moves faster than investigations. The room grew quiet once again. As afternoon approached, journalists continued broadcasting live from outside. Every arriving vehicle became breaking news. Every departing employee became the subject of speculation. News helicopters circled overhead. Nearby streets filled with curious onlookers. Employees entering the building were asked dozens of questions. Most politely declined to comment. One fictional security officer remarked quietly to a colleague, "I've worked here 15 years. I've never seen anything like this." Inside, board members debated possible next steps. Some believed no action should be taken until every document had been reviewed. Others worried that waiting might damage public confidence even further. Neither option seemed easy. The chairperson summarized the dilemma. "Our responsibility is to the mission. Whatever we decide must protect the veterans this organization serves." Heads nodded around the room. Everyone understood the weight of that responsibility. An unexpected discovery. Late in the afternoon, one consultant requested permission to address the board. He carried a small flash drive. "I believe we've located the source of the confusion." The projector displayed a timeline. Several fundraising announcements from different years had been combined incorrectly by third-party summaries circulating online. Separate campaigns had somehow become one enormous fictional number. Board members exchanged surprised looks. "So the $55 million wasn't a single transaction?" someone asked. "No. It represented multiple unrelated financial commitments compiled incorrectly." The revelation changed the tone of the meeting instantly. Questions remained. Documents still required review. But the possibility that the entire controversy had grown from misunderstood information suddenly seemed much more plausible. The chairperson leaned back thoughtfully. "This is exactly why we investigate before reaching conclusions." A vote delayed. Despite the new information, several members argued that announcing a decision immediately might appear rushed. Instead, they proposed extending the review. The motion passed unanimously. No recommendation regarding Reynolds' fictional role would be issued until every remaining question had been examined. Outside, however, reporters had no way of knowing what had happened inside. Speculation continued uninterrupted. Some networks incorrectly suggested a dramatic vote had already taken place. Others reported anonymous rumors that board members remained deeply divided. In reality, within this fictional narrative, the board had simply chosen caution over haste. A cliffhanger. As evening settled over the city, Reynolds received a secure phone call from one of his advisors. "The meeting is over," the advisor said. "What happened?" "There wasn't a final decision." Reynolds exhaled slowly. "So this isn't finished?" "No," came the reply. "And tomorrow may be even more difficult." At that exact moment, another notification appeared on every major news website. An anonymous source claimed to possess previously unseen emails that could completely change the direction of the fictional investigation. Whether those emails were genuine, or yet another rumor, no one knew. The following is an entirely fictional story created for entertainment purposes. It does not describe real events or allegations involving Ryan Reynolds, the Invictus Games Foundation, or any real person or organization. By sunrise, the atmosphere surrounding the fictional controversy had changed dramatically. The previous day's emergency board meeting had ended without a decision, but the internet refused to wait for facts. Overnight, screenshots of what anonymous users claimed were internal emails began circulating across social media platforms. No one knew where the emails had come from. No one could verify whether they were authentic. Yet within hours, countless websites and online personalities were treating them as if they were established facts. Television producers quickly reorganized their morning broadcasts. Entertainment reporters interrupted scheduled programming. News tickers flashed dramatic headlines while commentators debated what the fictional emails might mean. Some claimed the messages proved a financial cover-up. Others argued they showed nothing more than routine discussions taken completely out of context. The uncertainty only fueled public fascination. A crisis team works around the clock. Inside a fictional conference room at Ryan Reynolds' office, the mood was serious but controlled. Legal advisors had spent the entire night reviewing every image, screenshot, and document appearing online. Stacks of printed pages covered nearly every available surface. One attorney adjusted her glasses before speaking. "We've compared the circulating emails with records available to us." Everyone looked toward her. "There are inconsistencies." Another advisor leaned forward. "Are they fabricated?" "We don't know. Some formatting doesn't match. Several dates appear inconsistent. And portions of the conversation seem incomplete." Reynolds listened carefully. "So someone may have edited them?" "It's possible. But we can't make that claim until a forensic review is complete." The room fell silent. No one wanted to accuse anyone without evidence. That principle became the team's guiding strategy. Instead of responding emotionally, they agreed to let experts examine every document before making public statements. The fictional board faces new pressure. Meanwhile, members of the fictional Invictus board awoke to hundreds of messages from donors, volunteers, and supporters. Many simply wanted reassurance. Others demanded immediate action. Several major fictional sponsors requested private briefings. Not because they had reached conclusions, but because uncertainty itself had become a business risk. The chairperson gathered senior board members for another emergency session. "We now have a second problem," the chairperson explained. "The first was public speculation. The second is misinformation spreading faster than we can address it." One board member nodded. "If those emails aren't verified, we shouldn't treat them as evidence." Another agreed. "But if we ignore them completely, people will assume we're hiding something." Finding the balance proved difficult. The organization had always prided itself on transparency, yet transparency required careful verification rather than impulsive reactions. Experts enter the investigation. To calm growing concern, the fictional board retained an independent digital forensics firm. Their assignment was straightforward. Determine whether the circulating emails had been altered. The lead analyst explained the process during a fictional briefing. We examine metadata. We compare timestamps. We evaluate formatting. We look for evidence of editing. Someone asked how long such a review normally required. Several days. The answer disappointed everyone. The internet expected answers within hours. Real investigations rarely move that quickly. Ryan Reynolds finally speaks publicly. Late that afternoon, Reynolds walked to a podium inside a crowded media room. Cameras clicked continuously. Journalists from around the world waited in complete silence. Instead of delivering a dramatic speech, the fictional Reynolds spoke calmly. I understand why people have questions. I believe organizations earn trust through accountability. That's why I welcome an independent review. He paused. I also believe every person deserves the opportunity to respond to verified facts, not rumors. The room remained silent. One reporter immediately asked whether he planned to resign. Reynolds answered carefully. My focus remains on supporting the organization's mission. Any decisions should be based on evidence. Another reporter questioned the anonymous emails. I've seen the reports. I won't speculate about documents whose authenticity hasn't been established. The restrained approach surprised many observers. Several commentators had expected anger. Instead, Reynolds appeared measured and composed throughout the fictional press conference. Public opinion begins to shift. Reaction to the statement spread rapidly. Supporters praised its calm tone. Some critics admitted the response had been more balanced than expected. Others remained skeptical, arguing that words alone could not settle unanswered questions. Opinion polls in this fictional narrative showed an increasingly divided public.